Being able to cast far can separate a good fisherman from a great fisherman. Casting far won't guarantee that you'll catch a lot of Uluas, and at most spots you don't even need to cast far. But at some places you do. And every Ulua fisherman needs to cast at least a distance far enough to where your line isn't touching the rocks when you set your pole in the pole holder. Being a good caster will allow you to get your bait into channels, next to shelves, or out into deeper reef, and it prevents your line from crossing all the other lines if an Ulua bites. So today, I'll be teaching you how to cast an Ulua pole. All you're going to need is a Ulua pole, a reel spooled with line, water to wet that line, and a lead sinker. We're going to go head to the harbor and have a little casting session. And here's a little tip. Tie the loop for your lead before you leave the house so you're not doing it in the hot sun. I like to use a figure 8 knot. So there are two types of casts that are important to master when you start Ulua fishing. The first is the drag cast, which is a little bit easier and what I recommend starting with, and second is the swing cast. If this is your first time casting, I recommend you watching this video, then going back to my drag casting video, and then trying to do that first, and then come back and then watch this video and try to do the swing cast. So the first step to casting a Ulua pole is just holding the pole and reel properly. So notice I have my left hand all the way down at the bottom of the pole, while my right hand controls my reel. We'll talk about thumbing your spool later in this video. But for right now, just remember you pull with your left hand and push with your right hand. Make sure you don't leave any gap between your left hand and the bottom of the pole, because you want to maximize that torque. So the first step is to get your spray bottle and go ahead and wet your line. This is so that the friction doesn't burn your finger when you're thumbing your spool. When I actually go fishing, I just use my hand to scoop water from a tide pool onto my reel and just wet my line like that. Or you can just softly cast into the ocean and slowly wet your line with each cast. After you wet your line, next step is to measure the length that your lead will be. I like to hold my pole straight up and make sure my lead is in line with the guide closest to my reel. Next thing you want to do is set your feet. I like to stand a little bit open, maybe like 45-degree angle, and try to find rocks that are flat and not wobbly. I've dinged a couple of different poles because I slipped and fell down before. Then you want to swing the lead back at an angle. If facing straight forward is 12 o'clock, then I'd say swing it at about 7 o'clock. When you swing it back, the lead's going to go down, then up again. And as it's going up, you want to start casting forward. So when you're casting a spinner pole, it's more of a whipping over the top action. But when you cast conventional, you're going to kind of want to go more towards the side and have a little bit more power from your hips and legs. So when you're casting, you want to make sure that you swing your arms up and out. And when you throw the pole, you want to make sure you push with your real hand and pull with the butt of the pole going towards your hip. And as your lead is flying in the air, you want to make sure that you point the tip of your pole at your lead just to minimize the friction on your guides from the line. Thumbing the spool is the hardest part of casting a conventional reel, so don't get too discouraged if you're having a hard time. So the whole concept is you have to use your thumb to make sure the spool isn't spinning faster than the rate at which the line comes out. If you apply too much pressure on the reel, you'll end up burning your thumb or not casting as far as you want to. But if you apply too little pressure, you end up getting a bird's nest. This is a bird's nest and it's bad, but when you start Ulua fishing, it happens quite often. You just got to take it out and just recast. There is really no good way for me to show you what correct pressure it is, but the only way I can explain it is if you're tapping your thumb to like a song on the radio, that small amount of pressure is what you would be applying to the reel. take out a bird's nest, you need to pull the loops back towards you, and then try pulling out as much line as you can from your reel. Just keep doing this until you see that the line is tight on your reel, and then you can start reeling it back up again. Be sure to be patient and gentle when trying to take out a bird's nest. If you start yanking on the loops and they're not coming out, that's how you could cinch them and just make it even harder on yourself. Alright guys, I hope you found this video helpful or at least entertaining. Be sure to leave any comments if you have any questions, and subscribe if you want to see more about fishing in Hawaii. I'll see you in the next video.